Once upon a time, on Christmas Eve, just before the turn of the 19th into the 20th century, somewhere on the trail between St. Louis and the Oklahoma Territory, a child was born in a dugout barn with the help of a blind midwife and a messenger from the Lord. Silas and Millie Kittleson were on their way from Indiana to Oklahoma, where they intended to homestead and raise their family. Millie was expecting their first child. She had celebrated her 17th birthday on the day that they passed through St. Louis. Silas was a seasoned young man of 23, an experienced horseman and veteran trailblazer. He had made the trip several times before and was confident that they would arrive safely in Nickerson, Kansas before the baby was due. There they would spend the winter with relatives before going on to Oklahoma in the spring. Now, it was risky to cross the plains with mules and wagon anytime in winter. But it had been a mild December with little snow and wind. The towns were frequent and the dirt roads well worn and marked. So they just had kept pushing on day after day. Nickerson, their destination, they hoped, was only about 20 miles away. It looked like they would make it in time for Christmas. And Silas's aunt and uncle would be thrilled. Well, it was about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, that December 24th, when Millie felt the first contractions. Silas had just guided the mules across a small stream. When they pulled up on the bank, they saw what appeared to be farm buildings low on the horizon, about 1.5 miles in the distance. Perhaps they could get some help and find shelter for the night. But as they drew near, they could see that what once had been a prairie homestead was now abandoned and very much in disrepair. There was a small house with a sod roof which had collapsed on the one end. About 30 yards from the house was a dugout barn which was pretty much intact. It was a combination log and sod construction, and indeed was considerably larger than the now half-collapsed house. There was hay in the loft, and the faint odor of horses and cattle could still be detected in the stalls below. Silas unharnessed the mules, moved them into the stalls, and fed them some of the old, musty hay. The mules' body heat would help to keep them warm through the night. Millie made a bed for herself with blankets and hay in the empty stall across from the mules. The contractions were more frequent now. She called out to Silas, come here and hold me. I'm scared. Silas held her close, trying to not let on how very frightened he was as well. Together, they prayed to God for the safe delivery of their child. About an hour later, there was a loud banging on the barn door, and then a voice. I heard you folks might be in need of some help. When they opened the door, there was an old woman hunched over, leaning on a cane. She appeared to be in her 80s. I'm a midwife, she said. I deliver the babies around here. I've delivered most all the babies born in Rush County, Kansas, for over 60 years. They call me Old Catherine. They don't think I hear them. You could call me Kate. That's what my mama called me. I don't see too well anymore. You have to lead me around a bit. But I know about birthing babies. I've delivered over 100 in my time and never lost a mother or a baby. The child was born within the hour. It came breech. Old Catherine said that it was a good thing she got there when she did. And then the neighbors started to come. Farmers and ranchers with their wives and children. They brought gifts. The children brought toys. Wooden rattles, tops, corn husk dolls, whistles carved from willow twigs. The women brought more practical things: pillows, blankets, cotton rags, baby clothes, and enough food to feed a threshing crew. One of the men had fashioned a cradle out of a feed trough. It wasn't until everyone started to leave that Silas thought to ask them how it was that they had heard about them. Didn't you send her? It was old Catherine who spoke first. She said, you needed me. And then she rode with me across the prairie. I could have never made it by myself. She was a young woman, about 20 or so. Everyone else said that they had seen the same woman. She said, come quickly, that a baby was born out at Canaan. And then they knew, they all knew, moment of utter astonishment and wonder as people exchanged bewildered glances and nods. Old Catherine turned to Silas and Millie and said out loud what everybody was thinking. There was one and only one person who ever called this place Canaan. Liza Campbell. Liza and Jed Campbell came here to Homestead about 20 years ago. They built the house and the barn, and when they were finished, Liza said, "We will call it Canaan. It's our very own promised land." They put a sign right out there by the well. "Welcome to Canaan," it said. "What became of them?" Millie asked. Again, it was old Catherine who spoke. Liza died in childbirth about a year after they settled here. They sent for me, but she died before I could get here. Jed was heartbroken. He went back east, and we never heard from him again. There was a long silence as everyone pondered this strange and marvelous occurrence. Could it have been Liza? Who else could it have been? But why? And how? Suddenly their ponderings were interrupted by the crying of a newborn child. They called him Elmer Milton, after Millie's father. And for as long as they lived, they never ceased giving thanks for the mysterious messenger who had announced his birth. Miraculous things happen at Christmas time. May the miracle of God's coming to us in the baby Jesus grace and bless you this holy evening. So be it.